It's my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs and voices never shared, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning, and the words that it was forming, and the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence.
Welcome, welcome, and welcome, everyone, to my show, Rantings of a Blackbird, Decoding the Nature of Reality from the Outside In, found here only on peopleforpeople.ning.com. And as most of you know, my name is Raven, and tonight we have a show that was originally going to bring 4 different decades of humanity together to discuss various issues, concerns, and insights. However, a couple weren't able to show up. So tonight I have with me my wonderful dear friend, Alyssa Kemper. But before we get started on the topic of conversation, I want to give a word to PFP for providing us this space and the time to share our thoughts and our ideas uncensored. Gaz, my producer, and VR moderator together make this happen. So please give a big shout out to them, a big thanks. And also note that People for People is all volunteer run and supported. So if you can, shoot PFP a donation to help them stay on the air, uncensored, bringing you great content each day. Okay. The donate button's at the top left of the page on ning.com. So drop a few bucks off there in gratitude, or PFP site on the PFP site, or just do a subscription on the Rumble site. It's really teeny tiny. So and for all that do, I want to give a big thanks to you for doing that. Now, another thing is that we are almost at 1,000, you guys, at 1,000 followers. Okay. Because I know a lot of you come in and you listen, but you don't sign up because it takes a little bit of time. And I get time is a hard pressed to find anymore these days. But if 8 of you join up, we reach 1,000 followers on Rumble, and that is so cool. So help us meet our goal today of reaching 1 grand people. Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate it so much. The other thing is that if you have any questions tonight, please put the question in all caps and make sure that you provide the name of the person you're addressing, whether it's to Lyssa specifically, to me specifically, or to either one of us, and we'll get the job done, okay? But it's got to be in all caps so that Vanessa can get it where it needs to go, all right? Okay, next image slide, please. So I hope there's people out there, because I personally didn't put any invitation out because my dear friend has popped in from Georgia. So I'm hoping, and if you guys that have tuned in or listening, if you could put something out, you can grab a hold screenshot, something, and just throw it out there that Raven and Lyssa are on the air. That would be great, okay? So tonight's show is called How's the New Normal Going for You? A Generational Tell-All. And again, it was supposed to be with 4 of us, but it's going to be with Lyssa and me. So just going to go ahead and give a little bit of a bio on Lyssa, is that we know her as Lyssa, but her name is Alyssa Kemper, and she lives in beautiful Colorado with her husband of 13 years. They met in high school, they got married, and they got 3 young boys, whom I love very, very much, and some pet loves. So Lyssa is a self-taught seamstress, and I mean, wow, does she make some good stuff. Really cute, healthy cloth diapers, just putting it out there, and some other sundries that, are private stuff that go underneath the clothing for adults as well. And she uses all organic under and outerwear. So I tell you what, if you're needing any kind of cloth diapers or any kind of personal stuff, head on over to cozycomfycloth.com. Okay. And you can find her items. She's also got a substack that we'd like to get some people to follow so she can get information out. Because one of the things that I love about Lyssa is that she's, first of all, she's really true, kind person. She's a sincere person. And she has stellar work principles and work ethics. She's very good at helping people to do some healing work and definite detoxification protocols. She's really well-rounded. So this is somebody that, for me, I just have to say that I am the one honored to know Lyssa, because she's just, I don't know, she's just wonderful. Okay. So what I was thinking of, so welcome, Lyssa, and what I wanted to do tonight, and unfortunately it didn't come together as I had hoped, but what I wanted to do, you guys, is I wanted to bring at least 4 different generations to the radio show. I was trying to go for 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60-year-old. And now that my 50-year-old isn't here, my 30 isn't here, I'm going to pop in and say, I'm probably about 30. I don't know, maybe pushing 50, I don't know. But I'm not in the 60. So anyhow, I wanted to bring people together to talk about, what is it like? What are we feeling? How are we experiencing this whole COVID eugenics 19 program that's going on right now. It is a program, okay? You can't call it anything else besides a program, genocide program, and a control mechanism program. It's a reset program. And so each of us in our own way, we're having deep concerns. We have concerns that we are facing. Every generation, it's different during these weighted times. And while we can, imagine, I can only imagine, because I was 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 at one point back in the day. But, I don't know what it's like to be going through this reset at that age. I know what it's like to be going through it at my age. And we all, through the decades, things change for us and we have different concerns. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about what those concerns are and how we're feeling about things, going along. Because honestly, you guys, while we're in a very concentrated collective reality, and we can kind of see what that collective reality is if we step back into observation mode, we are also walking quite an individual, almost solitary path at times, with all of these different variables of heavy concerns, if you will, right? So that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to have male and female. But what I got? I got my beautiful Lyssa. We're going to have a great conversation. Lyssa falls into the almost 40 decade. She's almost there, and I fall into the dinosaur era of 60 something, and leave it there. And so we'll just talk. We're going to talk about it. But for all of you out there, if you pose a question, or if you've got some insight or you want to share your thought, throw me out your age or thereabouts and what concern you have. And we'll get into that too if we can. I'm sure we'll be able to. So, do that. Become a participant in the conversation. Okay. So let's get started on the discussion, Lyssa, and welcome, my darling. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a question to you, and then I want to hear what you got to say, because even though you and I talk about things, we're terribly close, and we talk every single day, multiple times a day. I don't think we just sat down and discussed what is it like for you as a woman, as almost 4 year in your 30s when this all broke out and happened. You've got a husband you love and take care of. You got your 3 sons that you take care of. Stay-at-home mother, homeschooling, and that sort of thing. You've got your whole system reality and what you're facing. And with you're just such a deep feeler, a deep thinker, and you are open and you're awakening. And so you're processing things in a way that I find to be quite admirable, to be honest. So I'm letting you know that. So the first question I have for you is, when did you realize that something wasn't quite right with the world as the COVID eugenics reset moved in upon the planet? And then also, so when did you realize that? And also, how did you interpret what was going on for you in the world? And what did you feel in the earlier days concerning this collective trajectory?
Hi, Raven. Thank you so much for having me on and having me here. I love you and I have so much respect for you. And it's great to be back and be here to have this conversation with you. As far as the whole, and I don't even like saying the word, I call it COVID. I actually have kind of a really unique perspective on that. You mentioned me being a self-taught seamstress, and the diapers that I make, a lot of the fabrics that I get are custom printed. They come from China. They're, custom designs. They're not stuff that you can just walk into Joann's or Hobby Lobby or any of those other stores and get. They're drawn by, artists and things like that. So they get custom printed over there. And I actually saw all of this happening or starting to unfold about a year and a half prior to the rest of the world even knowing what was going on. Because we started having shipping delays with fabric. They were having to close factories down for months at a time because all of their workers were sick and had all of these different things going on. So I knew something was coming before many other people did and before many others even realized what was going on. And as soon as everything like began to really like ramp up, I kind of just treaded lightly. I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to get a feel for everything. I was never worried about a virus or a sickness or anything like that because I knew whatever came our way, whatever it was, we could handle it. But in the beginning, I just remember treading lightly. I didn't want to say one way or the other what I felt. Um, I just took it with caution to kind of let it start to unfold before really jumping in. Um, yeah. The, was there anything else that I missed that you were asking as well?
No, for me, I feel like just go ahead and free flow because that was a beautiful thing, and it's interesting because I've noticed, Lyssa, that in fact, I was talking with Tracy and my friend Albert today that uh, as empathic humanity, an empathic humanity, there had to be some precipitory inclination that something was going to happen, like you're talking about. And if we're paying attention to whatever it is you're involved in, you can sense that something was coming up. You can sense that there is some impending. And I know for myself, where you were looking at, things coming in from China and all the ordering and the difficulties that were going on, I started to notice for myself. In fact, I got to tell you, Lyssa, I don't know how you felt about it, and you certainly can reply, but the moment, and for all you political people out there, I'm just going to tell you what, why don't you just go cut off both your arms? Not really, but you know what I'm saying? Because you're literally splitting yourself off. Might as well, because you're reaching for something, one side or the other, and it's just the same dragon. It's just a different leg on the same dragon, different wing, if you will. And I just remember that the choices between Hillary Clinton and doofus Trump, I just remember that, oh my God, first of all, we're doomed. Not to say that Obama was any great shakes. He definitely was the devil in disguise. But you're just looking at what we had coming next, and it's like, well, what could anybody vote for? But I'll never forget the moment when I went to bed, and I'm thinking, oh, who's going to win this one, right? Because they're both so horribly evil. And when I woke up and I heard that it was Trump that won it, I had this severe visceral reaction. I was nauseated. I was dizzy. I felt so sick. I almost wanted to retire to my bed with a hot water bottle and a compress on my head and just forget about the world, because I knew that we were in for some serious trouble. Not to say that Hillary was anything better. I just, in that moment, it was like an anvil on my head. And I knew the writing was on the wall. It was over. Boom. Where are we going to go now? Besides hell and back? Because I remember when he was playing on, what was that show? Apprentice, right? He had The Apprentice, and he's just so nauseating. I couldn't even fathom to tune in and listen to that idiot. Meanwhile, the beauty pageants and all the shit that you're hearing about, and here we are, a stupidity, wanting to praise and upraise this character that was a character actor. another actor we're putting into office. So at that point, I started to say on Facebook and in my circles, we're in trouble. So when 2019 came along, I said every year I'd say, okay, this year is this and this year is that. And, this is the meaning of this year and we better start stepping into it, and I predicted, the year before. And I said, 2019, you guys, it's going to be our defining year, defining who we are as a humanity, who we are as a collective, who we are as an individual, and how this thing's going to play out. That's what I said, because when 2020 comes, we know either we're going to have perfect vision or we're going to have imperfect vision and cloudy vision. And at that point, 2016 with Trump getting in, 2019, and all of the woohoo bullshit went on. So I don't know if you got something to say to that, but that was a tell for me.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And like, I'm not really a political person. I never have, but I've always kind of, called it for what it is. And one thing, I think it started back with um, Obama, really, is when I really started to voice about it. But I used to get so angry with a lot of my friends that were really into voting and thinking they were making a difference and that their voice mattered and all of these things. And it's like, so many of them would say, well, we have to pick the lesser of two evils. Well, no, we don't. But nobody looks past the first two names on the ballot. There's usually 18 to 20 other names on the ballot that nobody even considers or looks into. They just go for the two that the news people tell them are their only choices. So I really saw a lot of it happening way back with Obama. And my husband even said something to me the other day. Forget what movie we were watching, but it was about Trump and some quote from the Bible. I'd have to ask him again what it was, but he's like, holy, you were right. He's like, I don't know how you did it. He's like, but you were right. He's like, you called this 20 years ago. And, his latest thing now is telling me that my intuition, it takes science and the media and news and everything else about 20 years to catch up to me. Even when I point out other things, like with the shots, I told him, I was like, whatever you do, don't do it. I was like, I just have a feeling they're not good. They're very bad. Everything in them is horrible. Just trust me on this. And it wasn't until like a year and a half, 2 years after the shots when all of the studies and everything started coming out. He's like, I don't know how you knew it. He's like, but you did it again. And people will ask me, I'll tell them certain things, and they're like, well, where's the answer? Can you show me the answer? And I'm like, yeah, as soon as science catches up to me, I can show you the answer. But right now, all I have is my intuition. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know where my information comes from, but eventually science catches up to me. And then there's the proof that everybody wants. So as far as the politics and everything goes, as far as Trump and Hillary, honestly, I don't know who would have been worse. Neither one of them really did good for us, and now everybody's begging for Trump to come back, but nobody can see the two-sided coin there that it is. So I don't know if you have anything that you can add to that, but yeah, no, I agree with everything you said.
Well, it's an interesting thing when you have when you're truly a holium, and you're having you recognize your intuitive perceptive ability. I don't know how people could not have seen the writing on the wall. We were talking about things very assertively, since 2016 in social media. Before that was more, la la light and love and light and kitty cats and stuff like that, and what you're eating for supper, with some good stuff thrown in. But then it became this awakening that was occurring for a lot of people, and it was expressing itself on social media. It's interesting because not only can I go back in history to these different points in time in my own history to say, my own mystery to say, I had this understanding or understanding and appreciation of this happening and this rollout coming and so on and so forth. And I remember saying, okay, you know, Trump's in now. Wouldn't have mattered if it was Hillary, but Trump's in now, and I'm going to tell you what it is that they're going to present as the problem, and then what the solution is. Don't listen to it. And I remember having conversations with closer friends, a couple of family members, you know, whatever they're presenting as the problem, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be and exactly how they're going to roll it out, but you got to know that's going to be allopathic. How could it not be allopathic the way they've got the vaccine protocol for our children, the flu shots, the pushing of the allopathic medication on TV commercials and everywhere you turn? It just was like a clear, for me, a clear view to say it's going to be allopathic in nature. And we knew the reset was coming, or their talk of the reset was coming. And so if you know anything about history and pandemics, you know, it's always about, you know, placing a pandemic on the table along with crashing the economy and bringing forth some more. So what are we in now? We're in a pandemic, which is a lie. Sorry, target me some more. I don't give a shit. But it's a lie. It's a fallacy. It's an illusion, along with the crash of the economy, which they've been doing very successfully. You know, along with the Ukrainian bullshit and the Palestinian stuff. You know, so you've got these wars going on, and they're doing it so psychologically beautifully because the people that are in you know, America, Canada, that sort of thing, not able to perceive that we're in a war, because still, even though the old normal is shifting to this new normal, it's supposed to be great. Right. It's just they're doing it in such subtle ways that the sleepers and the jabbers are not perceiving the truth. Now, some more people are waking up, and that's true. Even some of the jab people are waking up, going, no more. I'm not going to do it. I kind of see what's going on here. But yeah, I mean, you know, this gut intuition is a part of the human element of what we're gifted with to know what's going on, if we're allowing ourselves to have that resonant vibration, you know, that resonance with what's happening and what we're perceiving around us. I mean, for me, I got to tell you, Liz, you know, I don't know why anybody would want to follow a orangutan. And you all can laugh at me, but the truth of the matter is, anybody that's dyeing their hair bright orange, you know, that's putting suntan, for God's sakes, he's a billionaire. Why don't you go to the bed and go ahead and get yourself a tan that way? Why are you putting spray tan on you that's orange? You know, it's symbolic to something. And you're putting somebody in front of the people going, everything is gorgeous and everything is beautiful. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what's the meat of what you're trying to say? Get over yourself. And you know, how do you put somebody in front of the nation and say, this is a president who is breaking so many laws, who's not following protocol to be a president, who's meeting behind closed doors with Putin, you know, which you do not do whatsoever, who's walking in front of the Queen of England? You don't do that. You fall in line. So who are you really? And what are you hiding behind this orangutan beautiful appearance of, you know, of a sham, but you don't walk in front of the Queen and not have repercussions? And you know, definitely Trump walked in front of the Queen with no repercussions, you know. And so now we're in today, and he's, you know, he's going to have charges and all sorts of things. And I feel like it's more distraction in order to get new things passed. But I don't know how people can't see it. I don't know if you've got something else you want to say to that, because honest, I know it wasn't supposed to be a political conversation, but it goes where it goes. Is there something you want to respond to with that?
Yeah, I've got one thing I want to add to it real quick. Everything with Trump and everything going on with the indictment and charges and everything, what a lot of people are failing to see is it's another smoke and mirrors. It's another one of those you always want what you can't have, and the fact that you can't have it is making you want it even more. So they're throwing all of this out there that he's got all these charges, he's going to go to jail, we're not going to get him back, and all it's doing is making the people beg for him. It is working exactly as they want it to. It's just another smoke and mirrors. That's all it is. They're just they're making the people demand to give him back, that he's going to be our savior. And so many are missing that and not seeing it.
I have to say, absolutely, Lyssa. I couldn't agree with you more. And I want people to understand that the orange tomato is symbolic of him being in alignment and part of the lineage of the Orange House from Scotland and Ireland. He's from that particular lineage. He's made the agreements with Israel when he decided to go ahead and sign off on allowing Jerusalem to become the capital, removing it from Tel Aviv. He's had so many signature moments that clearly depicts that he is on the other side and not on the side of humanity. Whenever, if you look at history, whenever walls are put up, they're put up to keep people in as opposed to allowing people to leave. If we were to leave to Canada, if Americans were to leave to Canada, it doesn't really matter because you're still in North America. You can't. Where are you supposed to go? The tundra? And if you cross over to Alaska, to Russia, who's sitting there waiting? I mean, look at the word Russia and you see USA in there. So where are we supposed to go? But if we get to Mexico, we start trickling down into Central America and South America, then there becomes a little bit more movement, if you will, but that's about it. Some more movement, but it's always about keeping people in. So, if people can't see the writing on the wall, like you're saying, then all we can do is try to help them to see. One of the things that just crushes me, it just makes me want to go off and get all jiggy on people, is when you say, look, when you go out voting, first of all, why would you do that? They are selected. Nobody's elected. We all know that. But then the reality of the situation is that when you choose one or to other, like you said, there's so many more candidates, but you're choosing between the red and the blue. What you're still doing is you're choosing evil, because red means Satanism, blue means Luciferianism. Again, they're two wings on the same dragon. And so what the opportunity is for us to step out of the program. This is called the political program, the government program. Step out and make a statement like, I'm not playing inside this game of yours. I'm not voting. I'm not playing in it. But when people say to me, yeah, Rave, I know they're both bad, but I got to choose one. And I said, why would you choose evil? And it doesn't even make them flinch. Like, wait a minute, so we're being asked to step up into our character and decide, instead of to choose to follow any part of evil, is to step in front of it and say, no, I can self-govern. One of the things I want to take a look at, Alyssa, and I don't know if you could see, but hold on. Yeah, so I'm seeing here in Scotland, we are being advised to stock up on the water, food, torches, and plenty of batteries. So something is coming soon. And I want to say to that, I have to say to that I'm not surprised, because whether we want to look at it or not, Ireland and Scotland has been under a heavy attack. And Lyssa, you and I could talk to this because of our dear sister friend Trish, who's in Ireland, and I've got other friends in Ireland and Scotland, and the report is in that they're dealing with a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. Their family members are getting sick, terribly sick. There's a lot of homelessness going on. There's no government support in terms of helping. They're actually creating more homelessness, creating more mental health issues, creating more structured court cases that are holding people, in docket for a period of time where they can't get out from under. And it's been real noticeable that I've been able to perceive that Ireland and Scotland are under attack. And I haven't been able to figure out why, and maybe our producer might shed some light on it, might type in and shed some light on it. But the only thing that I can perceive is why they're going so hard after these two countries is that Scotland is placed inside of like I said, this is where the orange lineage is, the house of the orange, or the orange house. It comes from like the lineage of Mary Magdalena and the marital lineage of Mary Magdalena and Jesus Christ, who were not spiritual beings, but they were royalty. They were the Caesarian lines, the Caesarian lines. They were Caesars. And so where Jesus came from, perhaps India or Italy or wherever, and he's of the blue lineage. And so, and then went and married into Mary Magdalena and merged the blue and the orange house together. Scotland has was originally the first, I believe, Israel or Jerusalem, if you will. It has the area of Fife. Scotland has a lot of sacred ground. And so I think that it's a matter, and also the fact that the Irish and the Scottish are not, or have not in history been afraid of standing up for principle and for freedom. And so there's a very highly warrior spirit inside of the Irish and of the people from Ireland, the people from Scotland. And so I think that the Allies feel like they need to bring the peasantry down to their knees in order to weaken that spirit. So I'm not sure what Gaz thinks about that, but he can put that in. Do you have anything you'd like to share to that, Liz?
I don't really have anything that I can add to it, but as far as preparing goes, you know, just do the best you can and stay safe and stay vigilant and just keep your eyes out for anything unusual or anything that seems extreme or out of the normal. Those would be your first signs that something is happening or about to. That's about really all I can add to it, is just, be vigilant and, you know, watching everything and, analyzing everything that's happening and going on so that you can be prepared as soon as, if and when something does.
Absolutely. And one of the things, Gaz is putting up here, William III of England is of the orange. It's of the Orange House. So it's a William III, also widely known as William of the Orange, was the sovereign prince of Orange from birth, stadtholder of Holland, Zeeland, Utrecht, and Guelders. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I thank you for inputting that, Gaz. Look, I just want to put out there before I move on to all of my beloveds in Ireland and Scotland, and I have more than several. And also to all the people of Ireland and Scotland, Please, please take care of each other and know that we're with you in spirit and in true lova. Okay, you're not been abandoned. I know that they're using the frequencies against you all very, very much. And so all of the emotional imbalances that are happening, the anxiety, the depression, the crying, the disturbances within the biofield that you all are have around your body and inside your body. Please know that it's real. It's not you. It's not your personage. It's not your holiumness. It's not you're not a broken spirit. You guys out there, you're just being targeted with frequency. Here in America, we're starting to be targeted by frequency as well ever since April 9th. I noticed that with Ireland and Scotland, it was a little bit sooner than that. Just please hold each other and help each other out. All of you that are homeless and fighting for your ability to have your freedom and your sovereignty and hold on to your sanity, you guys come together, okay? We have to come together in unity now. Really want to put that out there. Okay, also, Frock, hello, my darling sister. The House of Orange from Holland too. Absolutely. And yeah, never ever vote. Okay, good, because once you start playing in the program, you're getting caught and and then the program starts to expand into more programs. Again, from Gaz, I would rather die on my feet than ever be a slave on my knees. We have a statue in Glasgow with that written on it. And we have to remember Braveheart. What was his name again, Gaz? What was the real name of that? Who Braveheart is? I can't remember at the moment. Was it William? Okay, William Wallace. WW, flip those W's over. You've got MM, you guys. Just saying. So, but whether William Wallace and played whatever role, what they're saying is that's the heart, that's the spirit of the people. And if all of you could tap in, and while they call us peasants, I want to remind you that we are not peasants. Okay, we're the true holiums, we're the true life, we're the true spirit. And we need to start stepping up into that program, that realization, that revelation and awareness that that's who we are. And we start to create and evolve from there. We are only victims if we believe we are victims. And again, whether William Wallace was exactly we were told, or whether Joan of Arc was what, and by the way, I've decoded her and she wasn't, but you place all of these heroes in the front line of our view, real or not. It's time for us to take and realize the hero inside of us, unify, grab a hold of each other's hands. And like Gaz wrote, I would rather die on my feet than die on my knees being a slave. Okay? We've got to do this. Gaz says William Wallace was exactly as described. And so there we are. What I'm saying is we need to move forward as the William Wallace of our times, each one of us. And if you're not a leader, that's okay. If you just fall into the unification, not as a follower, but as a collaborative force of energy, and stand true and stand up and stand against the steamroll engine that's coming at us. We've got to do it. So I'm just saying, from America, I stand with you, Ireland. I stand with you, Scotland, as I stood with Australia during the fires, and all of it. So I just want you all to know that you are being thought of. Okay. 1 second, Lyssa. We keep getting some information in. Frock says, so many people here in Holland are becoming insane. You know what, Frock? Hold that thought, my darling, because Lyssa and I are going to get into that conversation, and please continue to contribute. I want to thank Frock so much for participating, because we know that Frock's language is Dutch, and she is trying to participate in the English. So I cannot appreciate you more. And again, Gaz is saying a freedom fighter. I live in the same town as Wallace did, where the wars against the English started. And that's why I'm asking you, and I'm so grateful for you to contribute and participate in the show like this, because I know that William Wallace is very special and personal to your heart, and you have more information on it than I could ever do. So, so moving forward, I do want to ask, and I want to, I'm wondering, because I think it's important. And for all the listeners out there, you guys can weigh in too. I'll ask the question, Lyssa's going to talk about it, but you guys can weigh in and let me know as well the answer to this question for you and your experience. So, Lyssa, back to you, my darling. What has been the most difficult issue or issues you have been facing over the past 4 years? Okay, so what issue is changing your life, or maybe changing your sense of purpose and safety? Because again, you do have 3 children and a family to care for, and your children are not older, they're younger. So what is the most difficult issue that you and your family have been facing over the last 4 years?
So, over the last couple of years, one of the biggest issues has been their health. From everything that I've learned and read and understood about these shots and the transmission and everything, my biggest fear is that they'll grow up one day and want to have families and won't be able to. That has honestly been my biggest struggle, is trying to keep them as healthy as I can with the world that we live in and everything going on, and just hoping that, when they get to that age, because my children, I've got 3 boys, they're 9, 11, and 13. And, eventually when they get to that point, they've all talked about wanting to get married and have families. And that's been my biggest struggle, is just trying to make sure that I'm doing everything I can. So when that time comes for them, they have that opportunity if it's something they want. Another struggle that we've had is information. Um, I always wanted to homeschool, but I didn't really feel like I was capable of it. So we did do public school in the beginning for a few years. And then I kind of used COVID as my excuse. We got tired of all the rules and regulations. And, I knew they were being exposed to bleach on every surface and all the different chemicals and cleaners. So, I kind of used that as an excuse to finally get over my fear and step into that power that I am the right person for the job for them. I am the person that can teach them and educate them. And now that we're going into, so we just finished our third year with homeschool, and everything is just completely different. Things that they struggled with in school, because that's intentional. School intentionally make things difficult. They're thriving in, they understand, and we've found new and different ways for them to learn without it having to be the conventional sit down, be quiet, face the forward, read your books, and do as you're told. So now that they're kind of getting away from that and getting more into homeschool, and that learning doesn't have to be sitting down and doing 100 math problems on a page to solve this one equation, that they can go out and build a fence with their dad and learn their fractions and measurements and things like that, that in a useful way that they'll be able to apply when they get older. So those have been our 2 biggest challenges, is controlling the information and making sure that it's beneficial, and focusing on not just their health, but all of our health.
Yeah, I tell you what, and I want to get into that a little bit deeper, Lyssa, because each day we talk, and if you've gone out, you've taken the kids out, and or people come over and visited, and I want you and I to get into the transmission talk too. But we talk about health, we talk about how we're being affected, and it's interesting. And surprisingly interesting how many people are literally keeping their children in public school, hearing about shedding, hearing about transmission, but not really absorbing that this is an issue, and and how it's affecting the children, not only in their physical health, but also in their state of mind, their spirit. And so I'm really glad that you pulled your children into the homeschool environment. On my end of it, because I'm not in your age bracket, but I understand your concerns about keeping your children healthy, about what concerns you have for them moving forward, how your children can get married, how will they be able to figure out having their sexuality blossom in the midst of this particular pandemic that is very much against um, procreation, unless it's perverted procreation, and of course absorbing and sharing body fluids that are filled with the nanotech and the graphene and the hydrocell and all this kind of stuff. And so for me, because I don't have children uh, to worry about for that anymore, but I do have grandchildren. And I worry just like you. I don't need to reiterate it. I have the same fears. I have the same concerns. The problem, the good thing is that you're an aware and awake mother, and they have an aware and awake father. So the two of you can guide them hopefully strategically. Um, I'm talking to my grandson's father recently, and I said, how are you getting him the school vaccine? And he goes, I have to for him to go to school. And I said, you do know that it is the COVID vaccine he will be getting. It will not be just what they're telling you. So for all of the good intention to not get him vaccinated, he's getting exposed in school, and he will get the vaccine if you vaccinate him. And he was shocked, but he isn't asking me questions. So I'm very concerned about that. I'm concerned about my granddaughters, and I'm concerned about um, moving forward like you. What's their future going to be like? And it's horrible. And on the homeschool part of it, I do want to put out there to anybody that's listening or will listen in the future. I pulled my daughter from school in 1999. And I believe it was fourth grade. I pulled her from school. And that was it. I took her to Spain. We spent time in Spain. How do you teach a child? It's easy. You take them to the store and you have them count and pay for the items and add things up. And you take them into the kitchen and you bake, and you take them to the sewing machine, or you take them to the wood shop. I mean, you take them into the world, and they experience the world. Uh, what it is that they need to learn. They're out in the world. I took my daughter to the garden. You're going to go to the garden. You're going to do 4-H, all sorts of things. It was a very interesting thing because I didn't even homeschool her. I had no interest in homeschooling her. She was, whenever I tried to put her into a homeschool environment, like you were saying, Lyssa, they're set up to fail. They're set up to expose the learning disabilities or the agitation or the boredom or whatever. When my daughter was 19, she went for her GED. She walked in, she took the test, and she walked out, passing without even blinking her eyes. She was brilliant, you know. So what I'm trying to promote out there, you guys, is that our children learn from us. So whatever we set as an example, they're looking at us. So we work on our speech and we work on our character, and we take them and they are a participant in our lives. They're involved continuously in our lives. They learn everything they need to know that's important. So I really appreciate that you've moved forward in that trajectory, Lyssa, in terms of caring for your children, not only physically, but also spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Oh, I'm stopping if you have anything to share in response.
Well, I thought you might have been, but I figured I'd wait and know for sure first. But um, yeah, I mean, absolutely. This world is so upside down, and you know, they've got neighbor kids and stuff that go to public school, so they know when the school is out and everything. So they ask me all the time, "When's our school year over?" I'm like, um, never. Like it doesn't ever really end because it's just as you said, we're out in the real world. We're building fences, we're baking bread, we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're doing all of these different things, and they're learning so many different skills, planting in the garden and when we harvest and how we cook and learning how to can and preserve. And so they're learning all of these skills, but they're learning it in a fun way. We were at the hardware store yesterday, and my oldest, who actually struggled quite a bit in public school, he was on an IEP. And after first grade, he just stopped advancing. But it was intended, it was purposeful. And that was really irritating for me because I knew he had more capability than they were giving him credit for. And we were at the hardware store yesterday, and he was looking at the different prices, and he's like, "Mom, how would you know looking at these prices if you would round the price up or if you would round the price down?" So it opened up this conversation for us, for him, in a way that he could actually apply this to his life going forward. So, I posed a question. I'm like, okay, if you've got $20 to spend, round it up. No matter what it is, no matter what the cents are at the end, round it up to the next dollar. Because then no matter what, when you get to the register, you're going to have enough to pay for whatever you're trying to buy. But being at the store,
Right.
he got that firsthand experience. Whereas in school, they just tell you if it's $7.48, you round down. If it's $7.52, you round up. And he had no application for that until we were at the store, and it was posed in a way to where, oh, I need to be able to make sure that I can make this purchase.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Good job.
so I want to talk about him for a minute because we did talk about public school, and I know that, you've mentioned your daughter she had issues as well with public school. And for him, he was on an IEP. When he started in kindergarten, he was nonverbal. He couldn't even communicate. And so we got him on the IEP. By the end of kindergarten, he was doing great. He was learning what he was supposed to be doing, and he was advancing. He was finally speaking, and, we were moving forward. And then here comes first grade. And he starts reading a little bit better than he had been, but then he starts to struggle. So we have the meetings with the IEP teachers, and they tell us to do all these things. And so I make suggestions to them because I notice that his learning style is a lot like mine. So I make suggestions to the teachers for different things that they can try to help him. Well, then the next evaluation comes back and he made phenomenal progress. Oh, he can't have this resource anymore. He can't have this resource anymore. And they would take back the things that were helping him. The first 6 months that we started doing homeschool, he went from a first grade reading level to a fourth grade reading level, having all of the tools accessible to him that they wouldn't let him have in school. And as soon as I sent all of his teachers at the end of the year his his test results from the testing that we did, his IE teacher sent me an email back, and she's like, "He's not coming back next year, is he?" Nope, none of them are, because I just proved that the public school system is failing my children, and none of them stepped foot in a public school after that.
See, that's a mother, that's parenting that is taking everything into consider and taking responsibility for the children that you're having and choosing wisely their present and their future, their self-esteem and their ability to move forward in their growth. And I think that that's, personally, I think that that's brilliant. I know that Allie had learning disabilities, not because she had disabilities so much as she just, like so many children, couldn't sit still and couldn't be present to, it was just too boring. So bringing her into the house and taking responsibility and having the time with her to see her grow like you're doing with your children, it's an amazing thing. I think parents need to work, and we understand that so many women have to go outside and work now. They've structured that to have happen. But I always said with my husband, Allie's father, I'd rather live in a cardboard box, on your parents' land, or just put a little hut on your parents' land and raise her, and you just work so that she has a parent, stay-at-home parent. I'd rather have less to give her more. And I'm going to tell you, I never regretted that, and I'm sure you're not regretting it either.
No, absolutely not. It was the best decision that we made for our family. It really was. And all the extra time and everything. I mean, yeah, we get sick of each other at times because we're always
Oh, I'm
together.
sure.
But it's the bonds between even the boys, all the brothers, they all can bond together now because they're not separated in different classrooms anymore. So the youngest can actually hang out with his older brother and do things with him now, whereas before, we'd come home from school and we'd have to rush through homework, which was everything that they didn't get done in school, because that was another thing with the IEP. They would pull him out during his math lesson to go do his specials for math practice. So he wasn't getting the one on one in class. So then he'd come home and we'd have to teach him what he learned in math that day because he missed all of it. So he'd come home and we'd do homework, and then we'd have dinner, and then maybe hang out for 30 minutes, and then it was bath and bedtime so we could get up and do it all over again the next day. And now, they do have a set bedtime because their brains are growing, their bodies are still developing. So I'm very adamant about that. They need to go to bed at a decent time and get a good amount of sleep. I don't have overtired, cranky kids anymore because they're actually getting enough sleep that they should be getting. That, having to get up at 6:30 in the morning to be to school on time, they were missing out on hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep that was necessary for them to develop how they should be.
Well, you are a very conscientious parent. I gotta give you that, and I'm really proud of you, to be honest. And I do want to put out there, and I want to say that because I know that so many of my friends that are listening in are of my age bracket, and I do want to say that and I'm not cutting you off, I'm just kind of shifting gears a little bit here, that those of us that are facing this time frame of COVID eugenics at over the age of 60, where you're dealing with taking care of your family and raising your children, food source for you and your family as well is a very big deal, and healthcare and that sort of thing. uh, I look at things, and I'm still in that era that I don't feel like I'm going to croak anytime soon. But I'm also looking at, I mean, I just turned 62. Therefore, do I go ahead and file for Social Security now? I'm still 24 in my head, but, my numbers are kind of giving me away to something else. Meanwhile, I'm looking at other things, and not to say that people younger aren't, because we are in a time where people are dying in all age brackets. So while I'm looking back at future lineage. I'm so concerned what is going to happen if they continue the vaccine protocol, if they continue the war against humanity. What's going to happen to not only my grandchildren and your children, but to all the children of the world? What does the future look like? Transhumanism is so much a part of the future. I'm very, very concerned about them. Meanwhile, I'm concerned about me and all of those that are of my age bracket, probably about 50 and older, where we're being targeted for, euthanization. They want to murder us. They want us to die so that they can get the elders out of the way in order to leave the younger people alone and stranded in their relatively clueless experience in the world. And I don't mean to put anybody down that's younger, because not everybody is clueless, but the majority are just not understanding really what's going on, fully. There's a lot of entitlement. There's a lot of people that are spoiled and just, feeling like they got the rest of their lives ahead of them. And that's not necessarily what's going on. They're not going to remember what we remember, even though what we remember is a false memory. It's still part and parcel of, hey, I do remember World War II through what my grandparents and what my parents told me about. And we're still remembering. We're still, remembering Korea. We're still remembering Vietnam. We're still remembering Afghanistan and Iraq and all these different, wars and tools that they used against us. So they want to get us out of the way so that we can't talk about, how we stood. We remember what it feels like to be patriotic. We remember what it feels like to have our neighbors back. We remember how when our neighbor got sick, we were there with, chicken soup, and we took the kids over, and we, took care of the kids. And our parents were the same way. And we had a whole different mindset than what, honestly, your generation, you're almost of the generation that my daughter was, and actually you are, huh? But, your generation doesn't have that. It doesn't have that kind of reciprocal caring. It's kind of like, there's no one out there, so I've got to take care of my family, because everybody's for themselves and for their families alone. And we're moving into a very self-centered, narcissistically, it's only not even self-aware. It's just a damaged view of the world and how we fit into it. And I have to say, Lyssa, there are older people too that are becoming more and more narcissistic and self-centered as well. So I'm not saying that, but we still have some of the ethics and morals where you actually helped your neighbors and you took care of each other. And that's not what's happening. So I have a great concern for the younger generations. I have a great concern, I'm sure you do too, and everybody out there listening, for the elders that are, they set up convalescent homes and these communities so that we can easily put our elder into something where that we feel that they're cared for, but it's just a warehouse of death, so that not because we're cruel. I mean, some are, but not because we're cruel, but that's because it's part of culture now. And now because of that, there's a level, an incredible level of vulnerability. So I get very concerned about the elders, and I get very concerned about my generation moving forward, and what that looks like, because we're kind of moving towards the end of our lives. And this is what we're going out with grave, grave concern for the future of humanity, and feeling kind of helpless. I always thought for me that, nothing was ever going to make me feel like I was getting older, and I had to kind of turn a little bit of something over to the younger generation. But the truth of the matter is I'm kind of stepping into facing a little bit of understanding now that I'm not the leader in this. I'm just kind of, my age bracket. I'm starting to feel like, yeah, I've still got power, and I probably got another 10, 15 years, but I have to turn some of it over to your generation to also participate meanwhile, you guys are having to still raise your children and everything, um, but so that's what's going on for me. All of you out there that are a little bit older, weigh in, or any age, weigh in and let me know what it is that your biggest concern is. And I'll finish with, I think overall what I'm looking at, listen, this is that, well, if I were to die, what would happen to me? What do I want to do with my body? How do I want to go out? How do I get out of here? How do I get out of the matrix? What does that look like? Because I don't want to come back here. I don't want to be on my return trip. I know you think about that as well. It's just such a prevalent thought in my head that I've got to get that awareness and figure it out before they nuke us. And so I can get out of here. So I don't know. Do you want to talk and say something to that before we move on to the next question?
I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that you just said. It is a huge concern. And when you mentioned, the older generation and the knowledge that that generation possesses, I had this, well, I wouldn't call it necessarily a horrible thought, but a revelation, I guess. When I was younger, I remember having 5 generations in my family. I had my grandparents, my great grandparents, and at one point, even my great great grandparents. Like, I remember that. I remember having 5 generations of my family, and now we're down to 4. And my oldest niece is in her early 20s, not married, no kids. And when my grandma passes away, we're going to have 3 generations. And then if something happens to my mom, there's another generation of knowledge that's gone too. And that's what these shots were designed to do. They want to get rid of those that remember World War I and II and Vietnam and all of those other things that happened, because then the only information we really have to rely on is encyclopedias and textbooks, but now everything's digital. So, and I learned this back in like 7th grade when I was trying to write a report for school. And that was when the internet was this cool big thing. So they were trying to have us use it to write our papers. But I got so fed up with not being able to find anything that I went to and grabbed the encyclopedias. And I think I was writing on World War I. And the encyclopedia I was reading from had 2 paragraphs. That was the entire section in this encyclopedia, was 2 paragraphs. So when the older generation is gone, the information that's at our fingertips isn't even reliable. It's what they want us to be, and they can go in and edit and change it at any point, and we will have no recollection that they did. That is terrifying.
Well, and the thing is, Liz, is that they've been doing it for forever. So even though we have the history that we have, it's also unreliable.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's true too. Because even, what things that you remember at the same point, unless you were actually there on the battlefield where all these soldiers and everything was going on, you're really still just relying on whatever other people have told you or you've read also. So there is still no way to really verify anything. And that
Exactly.
to me is scary. That is terrifying to me.
Exactly. And the truth of the matter is we don't know anything. We're unveiling it, but even we can be unveiling a part of another program that they're writing for us, and we don't know. That's why I stick to decoding, because they put it in the language. Therefore, I'm just decoding their language and getting that kind of information. I'm going to tell you something, Lyssa. One of the things I really want to get into with you also is I want to talk about the shedding and the transmission. And I want to let everybody know that actually where I met Lyssa was on Telegram. Somebody had mentioned on Facebook this group, vac shedding, and then I think somebody put me in the group. And so one day I wasn't feeling that good. I was just kind of sitting doing nothing. So I figured, well, let me go and check out the vac shedding group. And I started reading, and of course, boom, right out of the gate, it's like, and I take ivermectin every single day, 4 times a day, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, are we serious here? Because, I've been putting out solid information for so many years that what ivermectin is. It's a neurotoxin. It's a chemical. It's a poisoning. It's chemical. It's chemical mixed in mold. It's mold, and then it's chemical, and then you take it, and yes, it does kill some parasites, but it also is a neurotoxin that you never get out of your body. And so I came in and I was talking to, I'm like, oh my God, please, what are you talking about? Are you promoting ivermectin in this group? Because if you are, I'm leaving. And so it ended up, we got into a big discussion. They came on, they asked me to do some podcasts, found out that Lyssa was the admin that was running the entire group, but was absolutely anti-ivermectin, anti-borax, and but very holistic in her care. That's where we met, and eventually I was made admin, and we just got to talking, and we clicked. So based on that, that's it. What people ask us questions all the time: is shedding real? Is transmission real? And all I can say is absolutely, transmission is a very real thing. It's not necessarily what you think it is. What they're transmitting is they're transmitting radiation, because cesium, and you'll have to remind me, is it 137 or whatever? Just remind me when you come on. But the cesium radiation is inside every single vial of vaccine. Plus, you've got the luciferase, which is the bioluminescence, and then you've got, when they're emitting radiation and they're breathing out, and you say, well, they can't transmit anything. Nothing can be transmitted from one body to the next. I'm going to tell you, yes, it can. Okay, yes, it can, because when you're talking about radioactivity, when you're talking about synthetic parasitical nanotechnology, it's in the spit, it's in the tears, it's in the secretions, it's in us, and we're releasing it. We're releasing it through our urine and through our bowel movements and through our sexual fluids and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, we are transmitting. And if you guys got questions about it, hit us up on it. But when people are saying and confused, well, when I get around the jab, I'm not feeling good. I kind of feel sick. I kind of feel fluish. It's because you're being poisoned by radiation, most especially. And then when you're going out to the store, why do I feel so sick? Because you're being poisoned by radiation, very specifically in mass. When my children go to school, why are they getting sick so much more? Because they're being radiated, and their immune system, which is part of the biofield, the electrical magnetic field, also the liver and everything's taking a hit because there's this thing called radiation. And so I just keep repeating that there is radiation, and also there is goo. And I talked about that. I forgot what show it was. It was the death by vaccine and the hidden hand. And in the last part of the show, I talked about the goo, and I gave extraordinary information on that, how it's made, how it's being distributed, and what it's doing to us, and what even some solutions to that goo. So I would go ahead and scroll back, through the PFP shows, my shows on PFP, and you'll find that one and give it a listen. You can also find it on my YouTube channel. At this point, you can have the information of what's being put in that vaccine, because I've shared it and other people are sharing it, but I came from a very different place. Now, I would like, in my experience, I have knowledge, and I've had some experience of being around people that have taken the jab, have lied about not taking the jab, but took it, and I could feel it. but my experience of it is a little bit minimal, though there's things I can definitely talk about and help people to understand. But I really want to throw it back into the ballpark, your ballpark, Lyssa, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about the shedding transmission and how you and your family and or your knowledge is experiencing it. Go ahead.
Yeah, transmission's a big one, and it's something that a lot of people avoid, or they go back to the older term shedding. We've always heard that vaccines shed, from chicken pox to measles to whatever vaccine it was you took. Shedding was the common term, and again, that was another one of their smoke screens to create confusion, so that when these shots came out, nobody would take it serious. But when you look at the ingredients that are in this one, the cesium-137, specifically the I'm not going to say it right, luciferase, um, and all of the other ingredients that are in this one, those are the only two that are coming to mind at the moment. But the cesium-137 is a radioactive element. So in the beginning, when they were telling everybody to wear the masks, when the shots started coming out, it was for a purpose, not to prevent, well, it was to prevent transmission. So that part of the science behind the whole mask was right on, because one of our detox pathways is our lungs. So when we exhale, those particles are coming out. Well, they weren't ready for the transmission to start hitting all of the population yet. They needed to control it somehow. So they controlled it by getting the people to wear the masks. And then when all of the mask mandates went away and everybody was able to breathe freely again, that's when all of the transmission really ramped up. Because now all of those people that took the shots, every time they exhale, it is coming out in their breath. If you share a soda with them, you're getting it. If you swim in a pool with them, you're getting it. If you hug them and they're sweaty, you're getting it. It is everywhere. It is unavoidable. The most recent experience that I can share from this was my husband helped his sister move, and the couches that we have in our house, they're old, they need replacing, so he was trying to do a nice thing. His sister was moving. She's had at least 2 shots that I know of. Who knows how many more, but I know she's had at least 2. And when he brought this couch from her house into our home, within an hour and a half, I was in the bathroom vomiting. I was that sick. And I wasn't even around somebody that had taken the shot. I was around somebody who sat on furniture that got brought into my home. And I told him, I was like, this has to go. It cannot stay. I'm not going to be able to get that clean. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do to make that so they can stay in this home. So he immediately took it, he threw it out back, and that's where it still is for now until we can dispose of it. But as soon as he got it out the door, within 10 minutes, my headache was gone, the room wasn't spinning, and I wasn't sick anymore. So anybody who tries to tell me that transmission isn't real, it is. And I'm a lot like Raven, I'm the canary in the coal mine. I can walk by people in the store and I can smell it. It's a revolting, disgusting smell. I don't know how else to describe it other than it burns your nose. So if you've ever had that sensation where your nose gets really dry, you've been around somebody that was vaxxed and didn't know it. Because it's impossible at this point to avoid. And
Well, some people are saying that it smells like fragrance or it smells like death. What are you smelling it as?
I would say death, but that's just because I can walk down the fragrance section at the store and I cover my mouth and nose because I can't breathe. The fragrance has gotten so out of control that I have to cover myself somehow when I go around it. So the Vax to me smells like death. It's this rancid, uh, I don't even know how to describe it. Rancid perfume, I guess, almost. It's not pleasant. It takes your breath away, and yeah. And one question that I get asked a lot by people is, how are some not experiencing the side effects? And it's an extremely valid question, because there are so many out there that seem to be getting away unscathed or less affected than others. But in reality, they're not. They're being affected in different ways than we can see. They probably can't have children anymore, or they will be one of the turbo cancer cases in the next 6 to 9 months or a year. So there's no way to say that people aren't being affected by it. They could probably be in a crowd with surrounded by people that took it and go home and have a headache. Well, that headache is their symptom that they're being affected by it. But to them, it's just a headache. So they're not making the connection that it's something more other than just a scratchy throat or a headache, or I've got this bruise on my leg, I don't know where it came from. It's happening
Right.
in a lot of different ways for everybody. And again, that was intentional, because they didn't want it to be traced back to these shots. Last I
Right.
checked, there was 1,700 different symptoms. 1,700. 1,700 symptoms that they know of,
Right.
that they're sharing with us.
I do want to, I want to validate something that you said, and I want it to be made really clear, people, that I want to, when you're talking about, you got the couches in your house and you started to react, and you knew that they had to go, that it had to do with the relationship with the couch. I I want to say something to that, because when people are saying, no, that can't be happening, that can't. I'm going to tell you what, we bought, I guess about, I don't know, 13 years ago, or whatever, 11 years ago, whatever. We bought a 1969 Airstream trailer. And it was beautiful. It was mint condition, didn't have fragrances or anything in it. Very, very well off gas. And I thought, well, with some work, I can actually stay in it, being a person with environmental deep sensitivities or illness, if you will. And so anyways, we bought the Airstream. We got the Airstream home. I'm so excited. I go in there and I start taking measurements of the windows. So I'm going to sew curtains, and I measurements of the bed. I'm going to sew, everything, and get everything, get it beautiful, whatnot. And about 20 minutes being in there, I mean, you know me, I'm like the hypersensitive. I got to live in the wilderness outside to breathe. I'm like, you don't even know what sensitivity is until you meet me, honestly, at this point. But what I'm trying to say is, and I'm telling you all that for a reason, because I couldn't smell anything. I couldn't until I finally sensed it. And so I just got out of there. I thought, well, I just got to get used to it. So I just, about I guess about 5 or 6 hours later, I was home alone, and I started to become violently ill, like you're talking about, Liz, where I started to, I'm vomiting, and I'm writhing, and I cannot express, I can't even put into words, and I'm the wordsmith. I can't put into words what I was feeling, but I felt like I'm going to die. I felt like this is it, I'm dying. And I'm not dramatic like that. But so I called Tracy and I said to Tracy, do you think you can come home? Because I think I'm going to die. Something's terribly wrong. And all I could do is get myself on some oxygen, because I got this special Amazon machine that does all this great groovy stuff, and to try and get some air into my lungs. And it went on all night. I mean, we really thought it was touch and go. It was just that scary for me. And so by morning, I came out of that wretched heaviness of serious illness, and it started to abate over time. And all I could say is once I got some clarity and I wasn't in trying to survive mode, the woman that owned the Airstream prior to me, she had bought it and she had taken it down to Phoenix in order to take chemo and radiation treatments. So she would stay in the trailer and by the hospital, and she would heal. And she was off gassing, and radiation and chemo, the chemicals. So when I went in to do the measurements, I was moving the curtains around. I was by the mattress because I'm now measuring for all of that. And all of what she off-gassed years before, and I'm talking about years before. So she was recovered, and she just held on to her trailer for about 15 years before she decided to put it up for sale. And so when you look at that, you guys, when you understand that my body had and what you were saying, Lyssa, my body had a reaction to the radiation and the chemo. Yes, and Tracy went in there. He didn't experience it. He's not feeling it, but it didn't mean he wasn't affected by it. You can go into a restaurant. You could feel like you're not affected by it, but you are affected by it. You're just not feeling certain symptoms of it. But it just, all of these chemicals are working, in a penetrating a punishment against the cellular body, the endocrine system, the organ system, and so on and so forth. And it definitely works against the biofield. It works against the electromagnetic frequency of the body. So it took me over 2 weeks to fully recover from the exposure, and then I had to hire some people in to literally pull the Airstream apart, get the curtains out, get the mattress out, and start pulling the paneling and whatnot so that I can rebuild the Airstream for it to be used. This is called transmission. Now we're talking about COVID and we're talking about transmission. People are, nuh-uh, no, that can't be happening. And so what they did is they went ahead and they allowed the information to get out with the division between germ theory and terrain model. And well played, you guys, well played. And for all of you people that are into this rabbit hole of germ theory compared to terrain model, you've fallen into another program and another trap, because though germ theory, we can prove that this was a bullshit theory. It's a theorem, and that there is terrain models, so that does exist, but it's more than that. So now all the people that are under terrain model are looking at, well, you can't transmit anything. Oh, I can assure you can. Okay, and I can assure you can, because even back in the 90s, after I had my daughter, and my mother and father-in-law would go get the flu vaccine annually, like clockwork. August came around. They were teachers in the school system. They go get their shot, and then they go to school. They were always sick. They got their shots. They were always sick. And guess what happened? Well, we got sick too. Well, how'd that happen? If there's only terrain model and nothing can come into our bodies and invade our bodies, are you kidding me? Sweetheart, I can get on an airplane and I can feel the electromagnetic emissions. I get sick by the fragrances. I got this metallic taste in my mouth. I flew with my daughter. We got off the plane. Within 24 hours, she had chicken pox. Probably somebody was active in shingles. We are transmitting, okay? But it's not based on, oh, there's this, nature is sick and nature has this imbalance, and so therefore we're getting sick by nature itself. There's only the common cold that we get from whatever is happening in nature, a draft or whatever. And is that really even true? Everything is a bioweapon that has been created in a laboratory. It has at one point been released. It's gone through a generation. It's wiped out, genocided, people. It has left some people to survive. Those people create an immunity to it, but they also create this thing called a miasma. And that miasma, and I hope I'm not over talking, Lyssa, but that miasma is then it's then through genetics. I don't want to say DNA because DNA is actually a chemical, but through genetics, through the chromosomes being torqued and reconformed, we share that miasma with the next generation, who shares the miasma with the next generation. And so let's say, for instance, somebody in say my great 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 grandparent, say they had syphilis. And not to say my great 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 grandparent had syphilis, but if so, it would create a miasma of the syphilis. And how that would show up is by illness happening in the body as well, where genetic issues are in concordance with that, where weaknesses are happening at the chromosomal level. And so, we have to understand that. We have to understand that at some point the smallpox, at some point leprosy, at some point the Black Plague, and all of these bioweapons that were created in a laboratory. Yes, people, there are laboratories, because what we were taught in history is not actuality. And so what was created there and placed out as a weapon against humanity, weapons against animals, weapons against food source, and that sort of thing, best thing that they can do is they can release a bioweapon, put fear in the hearts of humanity, and put trauma with war, and put masks on people, and you are absolutely going to lose your health. You're going to die, or you're going to get sick, etc. That's how it works. Take away the oxygen inside the body, and with these miasmas, trigger the miasmas, trigger people by trauma, and here we've got illness. Nature is not ill. I keep saying it. It has its own homeostasis. It finds its own balance. It will always find its own balance unless it's helped out to not ever reach homeostasis. Now, all the people like myself, I was born with a very rare blood disorder, as I said before. That is an illness derived through genetics, through the chromosomal impairment within the family structure. And that was at some point some sort of bioweapon used against family members, and it's been passed on into, through the generations. And we don't recognize that, we don't treat that, we just kind of dismiss it under the white coat table, because the white coats are going to tell us everything about everything. So I just wanted to put that out there, that okay, we can take germ theory off the table a little bit, for sure, but we've got to keep and we got the train model, we got that, but it's much bigger than that, and these people aren't really going into how deeply affecting and infecting what they're doing to us is. So for every vaccine that now we go to the vaccines itself, because you cannot get diseased. You're not polio and smallpox and all of these diseases are coming from two conditions. One is vaccination. The other is through filth, through filthy habits, and always within a trauma center. And so, and I'm doing basic because that's what the show is supposed to be about, but I want to get into it because it's Lyssa and I want to share about that, and I want us to talk about that a little bit. You got to understand, people, it's much more layered. And transmission, Lyssa gets it by the couch, I get it in my Airstream. I can tell you for a fact that when we have sex, we are everything that we have been we've taken into our bodies, whether it's vaccines, whether it's food, any kind of toxic load, emotion, energetics, goo, you name it. We are passing it not just through semen, but we're also passing it through the vaginal fluid. So it's going both ways, and once those fluids get into our bodies, we are made very, very ill. So when when you're talking about your children growing up and being able to form relationships and have a marriage and have sex and have children, it is a real big issue at this point. Whether they can procreate or not, that's almost a secondary issue to if our children, if we, those of us are single, if we're having sex and we're sharing fluids, we are definitely passing on everything that we've ever ingested into the other person. So we're sharing in every possible way. I would like to, because I know time's getting a little bit close, but I want to ask you, Liz, if you can in short respond to that, because after that, I do want to get into a little bit on the ivermectin. You and I could talk about the ivermectin. So what do you have to say to what I just said, if anything?
So I just want to take a minute and validate everything you said, because it's all absolutely true. You know, our bodies are detoxing, and those systems have been used against us. We've been made to fear a cold. We've been made to fear a runny nose. We've been made to fear a fever. But all those is different detox pathways of our body. So when we get a rash, well, if it's coming out to our skin, then what else in our body isn't working correctly that it had to come out that way? But again, it's all been used against us to make us fear, oh, well, I've got this rash. I need to go get this cream to put it on. Well, the cream is toxic, so it's just going to put more poison into our bodies, because that's one huge thing that a lot of people miss is they think that they can put something on their skin and their skin is going to stop it from getting into our system. No, the moment you put something on your skin, it's in your bloodstream in about 20 seconds. Everything you put onto your skin, our skin is our largest organ and it is the most missed. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick, but everything you said is absolutely true. We've been made to fear everything. A cold, a runny nose, the flu, this, that, and everything transmits. It does, from the shots in all different ways. And I've helped many people that have been sexually intimate with those that have taken the shots try to heal their bodies. And you would be mortified to see the photos that I have seen, especially from women after being sexually involved with either their husband that took the shot, or maybe their husband had to take the swab or was around people at work and then transmitted that to her when he got home. I've seen some horrific things that I don't know if most people could stomach, but it is happening. And it's happening even worse now than ever before.
I have to reiterate that because I too have been seeing the images of the parasites that people are trying to detox from their body, and it's very frightening. It's very scary, and it should make us very, very uncertain about what we're doing with each other and the consciousness in which we're operating with caring for one another. I cannot tell you how important it is to really start to modify the way we're operating with each other and the way we're expressing lova with each other. Because at this point, it's getting kind of tricky. It's getting very, very tricky. It's getting very, very scary. I do want to say that going back to what you're saying with the lungs and the detoxification pathways, one of the things is what people don't know, like you're saying, transdermal Transmission is very real. It's not the most potent way to transmit by hugging and being in a sweaty environment with somebody. But I will say this, if you all need numbers, it's a 70%, 70, that we detoxify through our breath, our lungs. So it is the most potent way that we detoxify over eliminating through our wastes. Okay. When you're sharing toilets and those sorts of things, I'm sorry, you're transmitting. Okay. Should you be scared? No, you should just be keeping clean. That's all. You just keeping clean. Just so you know that for all those people out there that are flushing their toilets without putting the lid down, that toilet water mists, and they have found that, it's all the toilet water that's misting excrement and that sort of things on your toothbrush across the room. So you say, oh, but it can't be transmitting. Are you kidding me? So, the first thing is it's your breath. Then it's your sweating, because that's your skin's your largest organ and that sort of thing. You definitely do absorb very quickly through your skin toxicity. Now, I do want to quickly, and I know people are writing in here, but I do want to quickly put out there, I'm going to just hand the ball over to you. I'm not going to do any talking. Could you just go ahead and share about ivermectin from your perspective, Lyssa?
Yeah, I can. Give me just 1 second real quick.
Okay. So as I said, the ivermectin is a poison. It is, although it does, clear malaria and it does help to clear parasites. You know what, people? Drink coffee. It's a pesticide. Coffee is a pesticide. It's a natural pesticide. It is not healthy for the human body to take in coffee in any capacity whatsoever. You are going to the bathroom. You're cleansing your body out of some parasites while you're dehydrating your kidneys, your liver, your brain, and everything else. So, it's a trade-off. And people go, I can't give up my coffee. Well, dude, I gave up my coffee when I was 19 years old, dehydrating myself. I'm not willing to do that, So when it comes to the ivermectin, and don't you get mad at me about coffee, because I didn't design it and I love it too, right? But it's the truth. You're drinking a pesticide with mycotoxins in it. It's filled with mold. So when you take in mold, you're taking mold and mold spores, you're taking in a living fungi that multiplies inside your body, and it starts to take over your body, your brain, your nervous system. And then people are saying, I don't know why I'm having anxiety disorder. I don't know why my autonomic nervous system is out of balance. I don't know why I'm having panic disorder. I do not, or depressive disorder. I'm like, well, let's take a look at your day. What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you absorbing? Are you around smoke? Are you around people who are shedding? So when it comes to the things that we're ingesting, we're causing ill health. And I have to say this, and Lyssa will let me know when she's back. But here's the deal, people. They didn't, we've had ivermectin on the market for a long, long time. I have a ranch. I have livestock. The most recommended thing for us to give our livestock annually is, ivermectin. I don't give it to my animals. Okay. So you've got the cattle formula, which is people are taking. Yeah, I know there are similarities to cattle that we have. At the same time, we're not cows. I know they like to say we are, but we're not cows. So we're taking something that doesn't belong to us. Meanwhile, for my sheep and for my goats and that sort of thing, I don't give them ivermectin. There is no way I'm going to give my animals those chemicals and those mycotoxins, that mold, and I'm not going to drink the milk, and I'm not going to eat the meat. Not going to happen. So if I'm not going to give it to my animals because I want to keep them healthy, why in the hell are we taking it? Well, I'll tell you why we're taking it, because some idiot told us that if you take ivermectin, it's going to help us. And then people take it, and then they dump these parasites, and they think, oh my God, this is fantastic. Oh, this is great. I'm getting rid of these parasites. And so, whatever's happening, if I get these transmissions and I get these exposures, I'm doing well. What you're not understanding that not only are you're dumping a certain amount of parasites while you're immersing your body with fungi. Okay. And I'm going to say something, and I need you all to hear me. When you are exposed to mold, the 123 types of mold or whatever the hell it is out there, and you then get around any kind of radiation, that mold amplifies radiation by 600%. Now, during COVID lockdown, they brought out the Gwen Towers. Stop calling it 5G. It's ridiculous. It's Gwen Towers, military grade Gwen Towers. And the bioluminescent lamps, the lamps and street lamps and the cell towers and the transmission lines and all of the DARPA systems. Next thread, HARP, your devices, the smart devices. All these microwaves and all this radiation, your Wi-Fi router, your smart meters. Okay. Now, you go and you take ivermectin and you're loading your body with mold, which is what they want us to do. It doesn't matter to them if we get rid of parasites, because what they really want in our bodies is they want fungi. Okay? So we're loading up on fungi and all of this radiation is pouring in. If you didn't take the ivermectin, you're getting radiated, that's for sure. But if you took the ivermectin and you're taking it daily and you're continuing to take it and you're feeding the fungi, you're creating an immense problem in your terrain of fungi. Now the radiation that's all around you is 600%. Then people get depressed. Then people get suicidal. Then people have suicidal ideation. They have encephalitis. They have brain swelling because it's a neurotoxin. Then they're having panic disorder. They're having anxiety disorder. The information from the brain to the organs is misfiring. The involuntary and voluntary systems aren't working really well. I don't have to be a doctor to have knowledge. In fact, thank God I'm not a doctor, because I'm smart enough to gain knowledge. Okay. And having environmental illness has given me the gift of knowledge, big time knowledge. So all you people out there that are promoting ivermectin, you know what you're doing. Okay. It's called criminal action and it's called treasonous action. At the very least, it's immoral because you know what you're doing. Lyssa, you said it earlier in the program about Trump and that whole thing with the arrest and all this stuff with all of it. Anyways, but look, here's ivermectin. It will help you. They put that information out there. Then, and it's made by Merck, and Merck is part of the NAZI system. Okay, because Merck is owned by a Nazi, it's a Nazi corporation. I will prove that to you if you want me to. Just tell me, remind me, and I'll put that on the show, on one of the shows. You've got Merck, who designed and made ivermectin, but Merck is making the COVID pill. So why are you trusting a company that's making the COVID pill anyways? Now, ivermectin no longer is owned by Merck because they sold it to Pfizer. Okay. When they pulled it from the market and said, you can't have it because it will help you. And then they placed it back on the market, right? They were literally pulling it out, saying psychologically, we can take it away. What's good for you? Out, we'll put it back. Everybody went out and bought the new formula of ivermectin. And Lyssa and I have been talking for years, and I'm going to put Lyssa on if she's ready to explain. But when we're looking at the people that are taking the ivermectin faithfully, daily, multiple times a day, I'm going to assure you by reflection and mirroring, you all are acting just like the people who are jabbed. It's a cult. It's an ivermectin cult. You guys are addicted to it. You guys are standing proudly and holding on to all your beliefs around it. You're going to fight to the death for your ivermectin, just like the COVID jab people fight to the death over their jabs and their righteousness at what they're taking. They changed the formula, people. They got you wanting it. They changed the formula. It's contaminated. I cannot prove it yet with a shadow of a doubt through science, because that's not what I can do. But I can tell you something. I have been watching for all these years, and ivermectin people act just like jabbed people. Lyssa, are you back? If you are, what you got for me?
Well, I got a boom shakalaka for you. How's that?
I'm
Because,
ready for a boom shakalaka, baby.
yep, because everything you just said, exactly that. And as soon as somebody tells me they're taking it, I'm just like, okay, I just walk away because they're so far convinced now that nothing you can say is going to change it. Because as soon as you start pointing out that it's a neurotoxin and your body only detoxes at most 1% of it that you take, now they're in that fight or flight mode. So it doesn't matter. They're going to defend it because they don't want to admit that they messed up. They don't want to admit that they made a mistake. So they're going to defend it rather than admitting they screwed up. And they're going to keep saying, no, it's good, it's this, it's that. And you brought up the parasites, and I want to touch on that for a second because parasites are the new virus. But again, parasites are something that we have now been conditioned over the last couple of years to fear. And yes, there are some parasites and worms and things like that that once they get into our body, they do a lot of damage. But at the same time, if you heal the problem that caused them to be there in the first place, they will leave on their own and they will take all of the garbage with them on the way out. So when you take the ivermectin, you're killing them, which is bursting them open, and all of those toxins that they were gobbling up along the way are now re-released into your system. They're back in your bloodstream. They're back in, whatever organ they're now attacking. So you think you're getting better because that's just how it works. You get this short term, wow, I feel great. Well, I'm going to keep doing this because I must be doing something right. Eventually, though, all of those toxins that got re-released because you killed the parasite, they could be in your colon, they could be in your liver, they could be in your heart, they could be in your brain. And guess what? Now you've got cancer. And those parasites that you thought were harming you were actually helping you to clean up the garbage, and then they were going to take it out for you the next time you went to the bathroom, or you healed your liver, so now they don't need to be there anymore, so they're going to move on. We've been conditioned now to fear parasites, and ivermectin is the cure for parasites. And I know Raven mentioned that shedding group that her and I met in a couple of years ago. And there are many, many people that I witnessed that in the beginning, when I talked to them, they were sweet and kind, and we could have conversations, and they were open to suggestions and different things to try to heal their health. Well, as soon as they got their hands on that ivermectin, it was game over. Because now it doesn't matter what I say to try to help them. It's affected their brain, it's affected their personality, and they have changed. And when I started pointing that out to the owner of the group, he, tried to play along like he noticed it and everything too. And he tried to act like he was against ivermectin and the use of it and everything. In reality, he never was. He was always for it. And the only reason that group grew as fast and as it did was because of people talking about ivermectin. As soon as somebody mentioned ivermectin in the group, we got a couple hundred new members every single time without fail. The only time that group didn't grow was when Raven and I were actively running the group together and not allowing people to share about those things. Then the group went on a standstill for about a week and wasn't growing. And then Raven wasn't there for a few days, so somebody mentioned ivermectin, and guess what? Here came 3 to 500 new members again. It is a cult, and you couldn't have said it any better. You really couldn't have.
I remember that, and I remember doing a podcast on ivermectin, invited by Vivek for me to do that. And I really thought it was a legitimate group that wanted to know and hear. But I was run out of the group. I finally gave up because, people are going to be that sick and that horrible. I don't have to be there to, I'm not here to save people. You got to want to save yourself. You want to stop the bullshit. But I want to give a testimony to this, and I think Lyssa knows this story. I had this friend, his name was Johnny. He was older. He had lung issues, 4th stage lung issues. And he had spent his whole life smoking weed. He was a hippie, but he had developed some form of supplementation that was actually curing a lot of things. And then he was hit by the government and stuff like that, and he had to go into hiding, and then took on a new persona. And we became very, very dear friends. I love Johnny very, very much. Several stories about Johnny, a couple I cannot get into right now, but you want to know about Johnny, let me know. He's a very special man, and he went into hospice because of the lung issue, and he lived for another year or so because he kept doing a lot of things right. But when COVID came out, he lost insight, and he called me up and he said, Raven, I really want to let you know, you got to start taking the ivermectin paste, but don't take the new stuff. You got to take the old stuff. And thank God I bought a shit ton of tubes, and I want to send you one. I'm like, Johnny, I don't do chemical. Oh, no, you got to have it, Ray. It was so important for me to have it to give him comfort. I'm like, okay, send me one, but that's it. I don't. So he sent me one that's never been opened, by the way. I never had any intention of opening, but so anyways, Johnny started to feel better, just like you were saying, Lyssa. He was starting to feel better because he would take the ivermectin once a week and a couple of clicks, and he started to dump the parasites. Some of the symptoms started to abate. He was starting to feel less pressure in his lungs, yada, yada, yada. Still on morphine, still having to take certain things you need to take for pain, and of course using marijuana to help himself with the pain and that sort of thing. Well, anyways, fast forward, a little over a year, and I kept asking him, Johnny, are you still taking that ivermectin? And we sure we want to keep taking it, or reconsider? Oh no, Raven, we gotta, I'm doing so much better. I'm telling you, the doctor came, the nurses came, they're telling me I'm doing so much better, et cetera, et cetera. Well, anyways, fast forward through the year, I got a phone call from Johnny, and unfortunately, I missed it because I wasn't near my phone, and my voicemail, it's a weird setup, but I never got the voicemail. Well, anyways, Johnny died. He was calling me a week before he died, and he left a voicemail, and he said, Raven, I hope that you forgive me, but I made a terrible, terrible mistake. I'm dying. I don't know how much longer I have, but the ivermectin is what killed me. Please don't take the ivermectin. And I'm sorry I sent it to you and that I've made you sick. And I just never told him that I didn't take it. And he was already passed by the time I got my voicemail. So all of you out there, there's enough information about ivermectin to stay away from it, to never use it. If you're using it, stop and start the detox protocol. Now, on my podcast, on the Sunday podcast, we just had a podcast this last Sunday on health and healing and different herbs and different supplementation, which I'm not big on supplements myself, but we did talk about supplementation, that sort of thing, because if you listen to Lyssa and I kind of really know what we're talking about. Jimmy Miller is also in the group. He also knows what he's talking about as well. So we're pretty well rounded in some serious information. And I invite you guys to come over to the podcast because we're going to have a lot more discussions about solutions. Right now, we're talking about problems because that's where we were led to. And the things that are impeding our health. And since I got Lyssa on, it's just Lyssa and I talking. I really want to just put out there, get a little bit away from the ivermectin, but I do want to leave you with this. Don't forget, fungi, 600% stronger radiation fields. That means that fungi is it's causing such profound heat inflammation inside your body. So you got the mycotoxins in there, you get the radiation, it's amplified by 600%. You have got your liver, your brain, your heart, and every organ inflamed and red, killing you. Because if you got inflammation, like Lyssa was saying, and you've got this ivermectin, you've got cancer. You're opening yourself up to cancer and radical poor health coming on, but you'll think it's something else and still think that the ivermectin is helping. Next thing I want to quickly go over, because time's running out or has, but borax. I cannot tell you enough about the borax. Would you please stop? You see, what people don't understand is we go online and we think, oh, it's on Facebook and it's on social media, it's on the internet, it's on Google, it's on DuckDuck, blah, 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 and this doctor and that doctor and this person and that person, this one's a holistic, this one's a naturopathic, and so they're saying take borax, and I'm like, would you all grow up? Would you all get a clue that not just because there's got a doctor, a DR in front, or a PhD in the back, or an MA in the back, or they're wearing a white coat with a stethoscope around their neck, that they got something going on, because they don't. But I'm going to tell you something. I've known Lyssa for a few years now, and this woman is of the utmost integrity, and so am I. Okay, so is Jimmy Miller, and so are other people out there, okay, who are trying to save your life for reeling. And you want to go, but that doctor said, okay, I'm going to tell you something. Borax not good for you. Okay, borax comes from California, and it's the waste material. And you could try and prove me. Go to Google and try and prove me wrong. I have people doing it all the time. I don't really care, because it's not the truth. Borax is a waste material from boron mining. Oh, but borax is boron. No, it's not. It's a form of boron, but it's the waste form. Okay, just like crude oil is the waste form of petroleum processing. Okay, we all, just like corn oil, right, is the toxic part of the waste material, or fluoride is the waste material of fluorine, and all sorts of things, right? Okay, it's a waste material. So now you got the waste material. And by the way, they mine the boron here, and they get the borax here. You know where they send it, my darlings, for packaging? China. So now they take the waste material and they ship it to China. Then China goes, let me play around with this and put it in the box, and all, it's always in a box. It's rarely in a bag or a plastic tub, though you can get some in a plastic tub. And then they put it with all the adhesives, which are the glues and the toxic cardboard and everything, packaged up very nicely. Then they ship it out. Then they ship it around the world, comes back to America, comes back to Europe, comes to these places, not to back to Europe, but it goes, and comes back to America after being shipped in containers that hold all these other toxic products. But what is borax? It's a sodium. It's the next strongest sodium than baking soda. Baking soda is your first sodium, besides your Celtic sea salt and your Morton salt and your, Redmond salt and your Himalayan salt, which is really bad for you, by the way. Okay. Meanwhile, it's because it's sodium, it's absorbing all the chemicals that it's sitting around. You don't buy it in plastic, wrapped up in plastic. It's absorbing everything. Then once it gets off the container, it's shipped by trucks and whatever. Then it's placed in warehouses where it's sitting, absorbing all these other chemicals. And then it's shipped back on trucks, and then it's placed in stores, and it's always placed inside the laundry aisle where all these chemical pollutants are. And it's absorbing. Just like your Arm & Hammer baking soda and everything that's in cardboard boxes, it's toxic too. And then you hear some disinformation agent tell you to go take borax. Okay? So you do. And you bathe in it, and you drink it, and you're thinking, well, I'm taking in boron. No, you're not. You're taking in hundreds, if not thousands of chemicals, depending on where it's shipped, where it's held, where it's warehoused, etc. Let alone the adhesives. People tell me I'm wrong. Oh, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I have environmental illness and I know my shit. Because if I don't know my shit, I'll die. So I research my shit. And since I've had this illness for over 50 years, I think I know how to research my shit. So borax is a waste material that you're taking to heal your body with. It is not as potent as fluoride, not a lot of things are that, they're putting into us every single day. However, that being said, it's a very toxic waste material because it has accumulated all this toxic load. Now I can go to my friend Kurt Johnson, who I loved very much, who would argue with me about the borax. I take it every single day. It's good. I've been doing this for a long time. He gets off of work. He's in a carpool and he drops dead at 47 years old while he's passing the transmission lines on the road. I cannot tell you enough. You're taking a waste material filled with heavy metals and chemicals and everything else, and your body cannot sustain its accumulative in the cells and the tissues. I'm going to open this up. If Lyssa, you got any more to add to the borax story, because people are still ingesting this crap.
I don't really have anything else to add to that. I think you stated it perfectly well. But it's another thing. It's part of the ivermectin cult. Everybody gets on their borax, their ivermectin, their this, that, whatever. They get stuck, and then they're not open and willing to accept new information. And I've seen that too, where, you mentioned don't take borax, and then you've got 4 or 5 people jumping in. Oh, but I use it for this. I use it for that. I use it for that. Well, you know what? It's going to be just like the ivermectin. You might feel great at first, but it's going to kick back, and it's going to kick back twice as hard.
So if you want to get better, what you do is maybe you come to the podcast, or you contact Jimmy Miller or somebody else that knows an awful lot about product lines that are clean, and you get a clean boron, okay? And you take boron that's very good for you. So you want to get your boron in. You might want to look at the food list. Not that we got a lot of great foods left to eat, because the predators stole all of that from us too. Good, real healthy foods and foods that build copper that we need. But I'm going to tell you that, you got to find a good line for the boron and get on that boron. And that will start helping to heal and start helping to detoxify you. Okay. If you want to look at what I use borax for. I mix it in my cob because I'm building my cob house, and I mix it in the cob for the outer layer of my stucco. Okay. And then the other thing, and I say that kind of, like I'm a little bit of a bitch, being bitchy about it, but I'm trying to let you know, I'm using it as a building material. Now, if I get around borax to put in my laundry, you can use borax in your laundry. That's not a big problem because it rinses out. It's rather innocuous that way. But I have to tell you something. If I use borax in my laundry, you know what? I don't feel good wearing those clothes. I wash my clothes in baking soda. Okay. Then I feel good about it. So borax still is kind of caustic in the environment when you're pouring that powder in and when you're wearing your clothes, because it is, again, what Lyssa was saying, it's rubbing in transdermally. We can have, I'll tell you what, I can't wait till Jimmy Miller gets all of his equipment, because I'm going to bring Jimmy on with Lyssa, and I'll have other guests also, and we'll be talking about this moving forward. And of course, I'm bringing it to my podcast, because at this point, we can sit here and talk about the problem till the cows come home, and I'm going to be decoding, and I'm going to be sharing things in order to awaken us to the nature of reality. But in the end of all ends, we've also got to have some solutions. And if people don't have the knowledge and awareness that they're trying to kill you, and everything that they're placing in our minds, take the borax, take the ivermectin, take the medication, take the benzos, take your opiates, take your morphine, take all these things, buy that Tide, buy that Gain, buy that Bounce Dryer Sheet, buy the Downy, and on and Febreze and all sorts of things. You want to keep listening to what they're selling you. I tell you what, have at it. You can, because, that's about the limit of your free will. You get to be able to be the consumer that chooses which poison you want to take into your body. They'll let you do that. However, if you'd like to learn how to really self-care and really self-love, you might want to continue to come to the radio show and the podcast to learn how to do that. But here's the thing, and I'm going to give it back to Lyssa for a final summation. So think on this, Lyssa. But you know what you want to say next, but last. But here it is, darlings. If you don't give up your ego, and you're battling and you're fighting for Trump or Obama or Biden or this idiot or that idiot, giving your power away, or this government or this proceeds or this system or that system and this agenda and that agenda, this wall and that wall, this toxin, that toxin, jab, to be jabbed or to be not. This is a Shakespearean thing, to be or not to be. That is the question. And that really is the question, you guys. To be or not to be. To be the jab, to not be the jab, to be the idiot that takes, toxic things and go, it's working. Actually, it is. It's working against you, and it's poisoning you, and you can't see it like so many others. So truthers beware. You don't have it going on because you're not looking at the bigger picture. And I probably am sounding very arrogant, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm not trying to. I'm very passionate. And I've been teaching this stuff for over 30 years, and I'm not doing a very good job. But I've gotten to a point where I don't pussyfoot around. I say it like it is, and I'm very, very direct. And I am kind of facetious, and I'm very sarcastic. You've got to make a choice of whether you're going to self-care, you're going to self-love, or you're not going to. You want to be the person that's listening to the idiot box. You want to be, look, you all go out there and say, I don't listen to the news, I don't watch movies, I don't watch TV anymore. No, you just sit on social media and you listen to that bullshit. You sit on YouTube and you're listening to the disinformation agents, okay? And you think that you're strategizing this very well, but you're not getting in and you're not doing the research. So everything that Lyssa and I and others who are truly in integrity trying to say, please stop doing this, go and do the research and come and listen to us more, because we only want to help, but all I can do is help people that want to be helped. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Lyssa. What would you like to sum up with?
So the one thing that really comes to mind that I want to add, and it's a phrase that we use in my house. All of my boys do it. It makes my husband giggle. But when you learn something isn't good for you, you do better. It's that simple. So you take in the ivermectin. Okay. But now you know the truth. Same with borax. So when we know better, we do better. It's okay. Nobody's judging. We want help. Put it aside. There's better options. When you know better, you do better. It's as simple as that. And it's never too late to start doing better. You can start right now.
38 years old, and that's wisdom. That's wisdom. On this note, I just want to say we'll have to start talking about the med beds, you guys. But let me just plug this here on my way out. Anything that you see that's being sold to you that has any relationship to med bed, I don't care if it's a wand, I don't care if it's a jiggy, if it's a jaggy, I don't really care. If it says it's related to the med bed system, I want you to run. I want you to run as fast as you can away from it. It's all a part of a transhumanistic system. And I leave you with that because we know that there are people out there trying to push these med bed gadgets at you. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do very quickly is, okay, so Frock is saying some things. There's a lot here. I can't get into the pathogenic priming. I wish I could, Joanne. I'm just seeing this right now. My asthma's homeopathic. Okay, so there's a lot of support. We can get into this stuff, how to save the grandchildren and get it clear. We'll just keep talking about this, you guys. We really will, because this is probably some of the most important topics that we can look at now. I tell you what, we didn't even get through, 1/4 of this conversation because there's just so much to talk about. Of course, there are other good people talking about very good things. Please start using your intuition, people. Start listening to some of us that are telling you who's the disinformation agents out there. Stop fighting to follow people. I cannot believe how much you guys fight to follow disinformation agents out there. Be careful. They are big people that got thousands of followers, and there's small people that just have groups and don't have very many followers. They got lower numbers, but they're putting it out there. These because they've got them at different levels. I see them all the time on TikTok and everything, and I go, I can point out all the disinformation agents because they're always throwing the hand symbols, they're always throwing the signs. Their makeup is done by makeup artists. If you ever want to learn how to pick out and do it, but come to my podcast because we talk about it. All right, I'm going to ask my wonderful producer if you can put up the next image, please. Thank you so much. So the podcast that's coming up this coming Sunday, I tell you what, what I got structured for this particular podcast is it's called the History Lesson 101, Pandemics. And if this is what my tribe that comes to the podcast every Sunday, if you guys want me to talk about it, we'll get into it, because I get into this. I will be getting into the historical timeline of pandemics that's being used against humanity from the very beginning. And I will take you on that timeline, and I will show you every single pandemic used against us, what it was, what it devastated. Of course, everything is within the realm of interpretation and written history. Meanwhile, what the economics were, how that changed, and what wars were going on. So I will take you through that. If if I get people that come to me, and I want to say this, you guys, my producer, he sets everything up prior to me going live. He puts it up. This is on Rumble and Ning.com, and it's live, but then it stays up, and you can hear replays at any time you want to. There's a comment section, you guys. It would help me if you guys put some comments in there. Are you interested? Do you want to know more? Are you grateful for? Do you want, just let me know. I can't know anything until you guys communicate with me. You can send me emails. You can send me messages. You can Facebook me. You can Telegram me. Let me know what you want to hear, and that sort of thing. Because all I can do is be in the void of the silence that people, have. So, please know that that's open to you. You can communicate with me in many different ways. So if you guys want or need for me to have the podcast this Sunday to follow up on these things, what we're talking about here, and go deeper into all of it, let me know. Because if a majority, if more people want that, we'll just turn it around, and we'll talk about health and solutions and that sort of thing. Okay, but you have to join the podcast for you to hear it, because that's not on a replay like PFP offers. Okay, so this Sunday, June 9th, it'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 10 p.m. UK time. That you can come join. You've got people like Frock, who's in Holland, I believe, right? Trish, who's in Ireland, and other people who do make the time to come on, even though it's a little bit later. So you can take a look at this, take a screenshot of this image. It gives you the URLs to find me. If you can, whatever, you can email me or message me for the URLs also. It's Rantings of a Blackbird pod chats. So come and get some more knowledge, okay? Also, I just want to say, I'm just going to pipe in my own little, horn here, that I also got a blog, and it's on Substack, and it's called, believe it or not, Rantings of a Blackbird. I'm really creative, But anyways, you can go there, join. I'm getting a lot of free subscribers, people. It's great. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming in, but you only get 24 hours of my blog. And I'm going to tell you something. I can't give it away free. I can't have it open. And I'm asking you all to understand that, because I have to have my work behind some sort of paywall. First of all, it's reciprocal energy. I get a little something and you get a whole lot of something, because $8 a month is a little something to add into my little pot, but you guys get a whole lot of information. But I am very targeted. I'm extremely targeted. Ask me about yesterday, and I will tell you about what targeting. I'm like calling Lyssa and wanting, I'm hysterical, because I was under such severe targeting, and it's been constant since I've been keeping the blog and doing the podcast for the last 8 years and that sort of thing. And I've got to have some protection. So if you want my knowledge and you want my information, trust me, I've got it for you in spades. Not to toot my horn, it's just I'm a nerd and I research and I put things together. That's it. You can get well over, 230, 240 articles at this point. So pop off that $8 a month to me, and you got all of my articles, okay? And it's worth it. And then if you don't want to do Substack and you like Patreon, go for it, because not only do I have my articles there and I keep putting more, I keep adding, but I've got my podcasts there. They keep being added. And then the radio show is also being put there for anybody that wants to listen, but that's to everybody, free or paid. But just for $10 a month, you're getting all my podcasts and my articles and collections. So just know that, but I can't put it out because I'm constantly being bombarded, and it's kind of a protection. It's helped me to have less of torture. You know, I mean, they've shut down all my bank accounts. They've stolen tons of money. They've been after me for quite a while, and I just got to have a little bit of protection. So if you'd like to get what I have, you can support me. Now, next image, please. And I hope you guys screenshot that already. All right. And lastly, you guys, if you're in trouble, all right, I have a friend that's visiting, and we sat and we just talked today. It was just so beautiful. Truly, I'm built to help people. I'm a counselor. And if you're in trouble, if you need support, if you need guidance, if you're grieving, how many parents, how many people are grieving right now, and if you need space to be heard and known and seen, I've gone back to offering just 3 sessions a week on Tuesdays. And so I'm very good at listening. I'm very good at picking up cues. And I'm very good at being able to give validation and support solution. Okay. So I would suggest, if you need it, grab it. And please, it's not free. Okay. You got to pay for it. I am trained. I can help. So, thank you for doing that, Gaz. So take a look, screenshot what's up on the screen, and you can see just some of the areas of support that I give focus to. Okay. So if you have questions about the times that we're living in now, and you need spiritual or emotional or psychological support, you want health consultation, let me know. Because what I offer is wisdom, validation, and authentic support and knowledge. And I'm telling you, I'm so busy now. Oh my God, you guys, because I'm building my house and everything, and screen rooms and gardens and everything like that, that I can't help people individually anymore, except for those 3 time slots. I just cannot do it. And I have people constantly knocking on my messenger or whatever, needing guidance. And it's got to be reciprocal. So if you're interested in real support, just go ahead and message Telegram or email me for an appointment times. I do 1-hour sessions. I prefer that. If you can only do half hours, okay. But I'm given hour appointments. Okay, so go ahead and screenshot that. All right. And then next week, I will be back here at peopleforpeople.ning.com. And unless you all say, give us more, Raven, in large dose, I'll be back here to discuss decoding the soul, losing ourselves back home. That will be, what is that? I don't know, whatever date it is, next Thursday. I don't know the date. Somebody can pop that in. Oh, the 14th of June. I'll be back here again, 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11 UK time at peopleforpeople.ning.com. And then, of course, Rumble People for People 2022. What I'm going to be decoding, if we get there, is I'm going to show you all what the soul is. Okay, I'm going to show you what the soul truly is, and I'm going to take you and I'm going to break it down for you so you can understand and what that is, how it's a part of the matrix, and what we need to do about it. Okay, so it's a big, big decode. Now, as we leave out of here, I want to remind you that 8 people shy of 1,000. So pop it in there and join up on the Rumble site on People for People. So let's do that. Let's thank Gaz and Vanessa for being here. Lyssa, I got what? Oh. Oh, okay. So my Jiminy Cricket, he came and told me it's the 14th, but now corrected and said it's the 13th. So Thursday the 13th, come back and be with us. I forgot what I was going to say, but I think it was a good thing. Hold on a second. I'm thinking. I can't think. All right. Let's just leave it at that. Oh, Lyssa, was I telling you? Thank you, my darling. This was a wonderful show. I had a great time with you. You were so clear. You were just right in the pocket. I appreciate you so much. So everybody, please thank Lyssa for coming on and doing the show with me. And again, for Gaz and Vanessa for what they do, and Jimmy, who's my support. We're going to be closing out a show now, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Gaz is going, that's my producer, and he's going to be singing one of my favorite songs, The Impossible Dream. And so I'm going to ask you guys to stay on and have a listen to him singing magnificent voice. And so until next week or Sunday, be good to yourself and all others. Thank you so much for being at this time. This is Raven White Dove signing out on the wings of Lova.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run with the brave, then I go to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. Oh, this is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or cause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man scorned and covered with scars, still strong with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star. Oh, the world will be better for this. Oh, that one man torn and covered in scars, he's still strong with his last ounce of courage